Hot Water History, Saturday, episode 187. One of the most gruesome videos I've ever seen. And just overall tragic. Charlie Kirk shot and killed on Wednesday, September
September
10th.
10th. Mhm.
And I think it's kind of the low point for the internet overall so far. Just having to, I'm old enough to be able to handle that video, but I'm sure that I know for a fact 12 and 13-year olds, I'm sure younger, have seen that video. And I don't think anybody should have to see a video like that. Richard, what were your first takeaways from everything or just the day? Because usually we record on Wednesdays or Thursdays, but obviously it's Saturday. So it's taken a couple more days to marinate opinions and takes. But what were your first thoughts?
That the theater goes on. I mean, and not only do you have this kabuki theater of politics, and in this case, assassination, I would maintain, because I don't have any other proof or evidence otherwise, that Charlie Kirk was assassinated that day. That being said, when you consider the motives and the modus operandi of all of these political actors that have constructed this alternate reality for us, what you're being fed, especially in these poignant, as you said, gruesome, horrifying occurrences and moments, is a playing upon your sensibilities and emotions so that the divisions become all the more stark, the contrasts become all the more vivid, and as a result, the powers that be, who are always in a state of never sating or satiating their libido dominandi, are able to carry on unabated without any type of challenge. So, I mean, we're my patience has run out with people to a degree. Let me say this. I have to be a little bit reticent to declare what's well, I'm not going to be reticent to declare what's in my on my mind and my heart, but more so just maybe temper the language so as to have it received in the best possible way. I'm losing patience with people who can't recognize anymore that this supposed official patsy, this by the official account, assassin is the real murderer. I mean, the what's the popular word for just saying utter stupidity now? Cognitive dissonance. The cognitive dissonance that one must engage in and take on and exercise so as to believe that this kid who is essentially either an MK Ultra victim or is the worst crisis actor in the world, right? He's the guy who shot Charlie Kirk. And it just so happens that now all these stories are being fabricated about his transgender roommate, and he had written on the casings, the shell casings, anti-fascist rhetoric. It's all to implicate one side or the other so as to get the other side to rage against the supposed machine. Each side believing that they're the ones that are outside of the preferred minority class and desiring a status in line with the preferred minority class. That's what everybody's grasping at. And in the meantime, you have the real powers that be, or at least their emissaries, continuing to conduct a genocide in Gaza. There's been bombings in Yemen. There's bombings all over the place carried out by the Israelis. And everyone who's almost literally everyone who's been paid off in Congress outside of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey in the House. The House passes the United States House of Representatives the day after Charlie Kirk is assassinated, and one need not leap to gigantic bounds or take un unsubstantiated or make unsubstantiated claims that Israeli Zionists could be behind it. In the shroud and cover that this incident and death of this man, this murder of this man, provided, the House of Representatives passes a bill that makes it illegal for defense companies in the United States to boycott or refuse to sell arms to Israel. Is there another country that has that status? No, the answer is no. The IGO Anti-Boycott Act, I have it here, is the official act of Congress, the 119th Congress, aimed at prohibiting U.S. persons from complying with, it's just persons, it's not even defense companies per se. U.S. persons from complying with boycotts imposed by international governmental organizations like the UN, particularly those targeting Israel. It builds on existing anti-boycott laws by extending prohibitions to IGOs, with the bill sponsors noting it addresses anti-Semitic boycott efforts against Israel. The bill passed the House as an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act. The NDA, of course, is just the font of all evils that the American empire continues to perpetuate upon the rest of the world. On September 11th, 2025. It is, remember when we talk about the revelation of the method? I mean, the method now is that the powers that be and the Zionist particular interests are now, it's not just revelation of the method, so it's so clear and apparent to you that you'd have to be an absolute moron not to notice it. Now they're just slapping you around the face. They're just through battery bludgeoning you with it. I mean, they have to pass this amendment on September 11th, which is the anniversary of 24 years ago, where you had the real inauguration event of the United States carrying out every foreign policy, and for that matter, domestic policy, wish and initiative of the state of Israel, the modern state of Israel. That's where we're at.
What's the agency? I can't believe I forgot about this. That Massey talked about. Remember the
APAC,
agency? I can't believe I couldn't remember that. Yeah.
the American Israeli Political Action Committee. American Israel.
We talked about that a little while ago. How long ago was that story with Massey? Massey basically talking about and saying that every
Oh, well, that was when
senator
he went on Tucker about 4 or 5 months ago.
yeah, and every senator or representative has to meet. That's a little off topic. I was just thinking
Everyone,
about that.
everyone except Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey. And still, it's not registered as a foreign agent.
So what does that have to do with all this?
It has to do with all this because all of the circumstantial, and I give credit to Dave Smith when it's due, but maybe because he wants to appear to be objective and fair, when people reasonably came out and said, "Oh, this is Israel and Zionists carrying this out," and suspecting that they were behind the plot and the actual assassination of Charlie Kirk, Dave came out and said, "Is there actual evidence to support that?" Well, I mean, in even a court of law, but just in any historical or evidentiary study, when you have mountainous circumstantial and historical evidence to say that there are not just capabilities on the part of Mossad and the IDF and the intelligence services who cooperate with the Israeli government and the Likud party in Israel, and that they are very equipped, but also successful in carrying out major assassinations that and murders that require enormous both amounts of information and cooperation on foreign shores with entities that happen to be connected indirectly or directly, whether it's the American media or the CIA or the whatever it might be, MI6. Or in the case of, if you remember the story about the beepers exploding on supposed Hamas members, right? I mean, we have stories, for example, the Iranian nuclear scientists who were targeted and bombed by Israel, and 14 of them died just several weeks ago. Well, it's now come out that you have there's a significant number of Iranian-born Jews who reside either in Israel or work directly with Mossad and the IDF and the Israeli government on shores abroad, and they speak perfect Farsi. And they would they would call in and they would use perfect Farsi and try and get in touch with the Iranian scientists and their families and say either defect or you're going to die. And thus they were able to track them after giving them one sort of last out to defect and in the most unprincipled of ways become turncoats and support the eradication of the national and sovereign interests of Iran, their home country. I so you're gonna say that this guy, this gunman, Tyler Robinson, who it's just it's galling to me that you have people like who and these are individuals who I otherwise have a great deal of respect for, either for their academic and intellectual prowess or just their sagacity and ability to, through the use of their knowledge and acquired wisdom and grace wisdom, point out very significant truths that are going on in society, or in the case of these individuals, the Catholic Church, men like Michael Hickburn of the Lepanto Institute. He's all on board with that. This is the lone shooter, and it's a left. He's a leftist, and he's the transgender. It's leftism, leftism, leftism. The leftists can't be. We can't live with leftists. Yeah. I tweeted to him. I said, Michael, the powers that be have all but tattooed Patsy across the guy's forehead, and you're still buying this story. You're still buying this story? I mean, these are the same people. And I'm sorry, I'm going to sound very ageist here, and I'm going to sound very anti-boomer, but it's just true. The boomers are in a purposeful slumber. And I the idea that in their own time they saw the takedown, the assassination of our president, the political assassination of Nixon as another, right? And all of the tumult, all of the assassinations that they saw, RFK, MLK, you name it, John Paul II. I mean, all these terrorist attacks. And they're just so desirous of preserving the status quo because they are so and maybe the because the entities that be have gotten them invested in it. Their nest egg is invested in the way that Wall Street works, that the government operates, that they don't want to endanger it because once they question it, they endanger it. And they just want to live. They're in their last years. They just want to be comfortable. They just want to be comfortable. And you had and the way in which those boomers treated individuals like Pat Buchanan and Ron Paul, and those who are willing to, or for example, George Galloway, these people who are willing to speak up and say, do you not recognize the tremendous systematic injustice, the real systematic injustice? So you're going to have all these diversions about, you know, systematic racism and the lack of diversity, all these feminism. Meanwhile, the rug's being pulled out in a monetary, fiscal, legislative fashion to the point where the culture is ruined. Basic traditional values and norms are seen as retrograde and anachronistic and have to be done away with. And then they wonder, I do sympathize with those who are of the younger generation X, millennial, and then Generation Z, who they have maybe boomer or late Gen X parents, and they're like, look, why is your career suffering so much? Why are you coming to me for money? Why are you needing my support? I didn't depend on my father. You had it handed to you. You had it handed to you. So that the prosperity and mode and standard of living to which the boomers became terribly ungratefully accustomed to is now out of the grasp and out of the reach of their sons, daughters, grandsons, nephews, and the like. And they're going to blame that later generation. All that being said, I mean, I feel as though it should be stated that, of course, Charlie was wrong and he might have been coming around. And that's why there's reason for Israel to off him, nip it in the proverbial bud, because he was raising seminal and significant questions about the legitimacy of the genocide that the Israelis were carrying out. And all of this American cucked cooperation with, it doesn't matter what regime it is, with Israel and the state of Israel. So you nip it in the bud. Uh, I feel as though it should be stated that Charlie was fighting for something that either never existed or is altogether gone now. He was an heroic warrior for a system of government that, when he considered it to be a democratic republic and the American founding myth, that's what he lobbied for. That's what he fought so vociferously and passionately for. And it's it's like as though he was fighting for a ghost or a phantasm. And this is what, and events like this, his murder, unfortunately, reiterates that. I mean, if you're going to live under this delusion that the United States was founded for and based upon these radically beautiful ideals, and then you get shot in the neck, um, yeah, things such as what we've always come to, well, I shouldn't say always, what we in our later political lives, you and I have come to conclude, like the rule of law. He was a big champion of the rule of law. The rule of law separates liberal democracy, separates the civilized world versus the uncivilized world. The rule of law does that. Those are failures if they ever existed at all.
Yeah. I kind of want to get back to the Israel part because of this
Yes.
video.
Yeah, let's go ahead and watch this video from Harrison Smith, who, remember, this is Harrison Smith of the Alex Jones network. And Harrison was the one who broke weeks ago that Charlie had communicated to him that he feared reprisal on the part of Israeli agents and those who would be allies of the Zionist project as it exists and persists today, should he continue to speak out or investigate and, just ask questions and be seen as curious about everything from October 7th to what is the suppression of speech in the United States by Israeli agents. So let's go ahead and listen to Harrison Smith here.
So then I'm thinking about it from Israel's perspective and going, first of all, without my tweet as context, it kind of doesn't make any sense because Charlie Kirk is the pro-Zionist guy. He is the pro-Israel guy. He holds that banner and he's known as that. So to say Israel is going to kill him, that genuinely doesn't make any sense. But then when you think of it as, what if he was going in that direction? What if they were listening in to him and he was in communications with people saying, hey, I think I'm going to go this direction, and they knew his intentions or saw this pattern? Then suddenly it's like, okay, here's this pro-Zionist guy with this incredibly powerful platform that they built, by the way, that Charlie has thanks to them. So if he's going to take what they gave him and turn it against them, that could literally destroy Israel, because the youth is people they're most concerned about. They're bringing over all these under 30 people to Israel to train. They're very concerned about the youth perception of Israel. Charlie is the dude when it comes to Israel. He is such a powerful component of their apparatus. And so then you think like, all right, we can't let him turn. That's just like totally unacceptable. And if he starts to turn and we take him out then we'll be blamed. So, you take him out before he ever really genuinely turns, and then he's the Zionist martyr, and maybe you blame it on a Palestinian, and then you get more anti-Semitism stuff, and you unify the right, and they stop criticizing your guy, anymore. Man. I don't know, man. So again, Israel was never my top suspect until, I've spent 24 hours thinking about it, and I'm like, it's not unreasonable. It's not even out of the question in terms of would Israel do this? I mean, it's like, guys,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they've
the
done it
past
14
3
times
years.
since Clinton and I started this conversation. So, it's like, it's in their wheelhouse. And if nothing else, it just shows how much they needed Charlie Kirk, because, man, nobody's going to be defending them anymore. And their reputation is in the toilet, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because it seemed it seemed like Fuentes has always been just the extreme version of the like anti-Israel um, kind of end there. So that when Charlie Kirk, who probably had more mainstream influence, started to be critical of Israel,
Mm.
it pretty much validated, what Fuentes has always been kind of extreme, quote unquote, about. So
Yeah, yeah. Also have the element that, and maybe this old adage needs to be reconfigured, that there is no, how's it go? There's nothing like a lady scorned or spurned. The
I've never
adage.
heard that.
You never heard? You never heard
No,
that?
I can look it
Oh,
up.
the greatest fear is a lady spurned or scorned. Take a look, see how it goes. We would have to refigure this. There's nothing worse than, or more dangerous than the retribution of a Zionist Jewish financier scorned.
Hell hath no fury like a
Hell hath no
woman
fury.
scorned.
We even used that in an episode. So there you go.
But
Hell hath no fury.
Charlie Kirk was the moderate.
Yeah,
That's
well,
the
okay. Now I think you're trotting out some cliches now, though.
No. I mean, in comparison,
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, they're even throwing out memes now that Charlie's the dam, and here's the alt right. There's the waters, and then the left's down there, and Charlie's holding up the. Have you seen those yet?
I'm not going that far. I'm just saying that in comparison to what's out there, he's very, especially among younger people, he said his mission one time was to de-radicalize the country.
Correct. Yeah, well put. So his mission was to de-radicalize the country and return it to basic traditional principles of Americanism. You see, uh, and he took Israeli financiers' money to found Turning Point and pursue those conservative ends. And up until the point in which it became apparent that Israel's perpetrating a genocide and engaged in a project of mass slaughter so as to achieve a farcical biblical greater Israel, a territorial modern secular Israel, whose justification, ironically, is from supposed, according to their interpretation of it, Holy Writ in Scripture. And he felt as though he had the audacity to feel as though he had enough freedom to investigate and speak openly about, as you saw, there's a pattern which, even though he was known as a fervent Zionist defender and apologist, he let Dave Smith onto a stage with him. He went on Patrick Bet-David's show and said, October 7th. I mean, he said, and you can look at the video, I've been to Israel. It is the most surveilled, heavily guarded, defended land on the face of the earth. So was there a stand down order on October 7th? What would be the reason to have a stand down order? I don't think at this point the Zionist Likudniks, the Netanyahu backers, the Mark Levins and the Ben Shapiros of the world and the Laura Loomers feel as though they are in a place where they can lose the conservative movement in the United States. And certainly they're not in a place where the tide of sentiment in the United States among young people mimics that of young people in Europe and across the globe who are really awake and understand that this whole globalist enterprise and system seems to have this remarkable characteristic of always favoring Israel. That Netanyahu can declare on September 12th, 2001, even as he wasn't prime minister of Israel at the time. Now we got the Americans right where they want them. They're going to be so enraged that they're going to fight our wars for us. And when you have such powerful systems and institutions that are in lockstep with you. Interestingly, what's wild is that for me, and maybe this is just because of Anchorman and the successive movies or the slow decline. It's been a slow decline, but just in terms of time, not in terms of quality. The decline in quality has been quite significant. But local news reports, the more that we've shifted into this alternative podcasting and cable news dominated sphere. Yes, still cable news has some sway according to the powers that be, in my mind. It's the local news networks that have been a little bit freer to, in an uncensored way, go after stories that are of interest. And it's wild to see how the local news stories that have a community-wide impact in a given locale are then totally suppressed. You never hear about some of the local stories that should set your hair on fire if you have some and enrage you to no end, but you never hear about them on the national or global scale. It's not as if Bloomberg Financial is going to report that some guy, lost his fortune because of an error that Fidelity said in his accounts. But this can happen. Or a banking error or identity theft that all of a sudden the account goes to some arms dealer that's supplying the Ukrainians. I mean, you hear these stories on the local networks. And do you want to go to this one that I just uncovered and found today? That is an actual story, but one that we haven't heard of. No national outlets reported on except this local Arizona network news station. And it's pretty shocking. Let's go in and hear that one.
Chief, this man right here, he's accused of killing New River pastor Bill Scheineman, and he admits to our camera, to our Lauren Clark, that he is responsible for that brutal murder.
He made no bones about it. He says this was part of a plan to kill 14 Christian leaders in 10 states across the country. Lauren Clark now joins us live to explain, and we've got to warn you up front, these details are disturbing.
Well, John and Ellen, first of all, before I go into the details of that interview, I want to start with the man who is the victim in this case. I think that is super important. Pastor Bill Scheineman. He was beloved in his community. This was a man, according to people who knew him really well, who would do anything to help out a person in need, a light in his community, a light that Adam Schiff admitted to me right here in the Coconino jail about 2 hours ago that he took. He showed no remorse or regret for his actions. Led into the room in shackles, Adam Christopher Schiff admitted to murder. Did you kill Pastor Bill Scheineman?
Yes.
He justified his actions with religion, citing his twisted belief that Christian pastors are leading people into a false path by following Jesus. He said Pastor Bill was the first in a plot he called Operation First Commandment, aimed at killing and then crucifying 14 Christian leaders across the country. He admitted that he was about to kill 2 priests at the Chapel of the Holy Cross in Sedona before he was arrested by police.
The day that I was going to execute that priest, I tried getting into the back of his car, and there was like an older lady that was on like a small little bicycle that got into my way, and I was just going to get into the back seat and tell him to drive to his house.
I asked if Adam was ever victimized by anyone in the Christian faith. He said no. He said his family is Christian and that he had a good childhood. He denied being mentally unwell. But Pastor Bill, speaking to people who knew and loved him, his family, he helped people get back on the right track in this world. He helped a woman who was living out of her car go into a house and get her life back on track. Do you think what you took was precious or valuable in any way? Adam answered that question with a religious tangent. He said he was not sorry for what he did.
Will I apologize for my actions? Absolutely not.
Adam also told me that he had used drugs before, but he did not believe that that is impacting his mental state. He also said he would be okay with execution. Reporting live here in Flagstaff, Lauren Clark, Fox 10 News.
I like the point you made before the video. It's like the meanwhile in Oak Parkification of the media, where there's just so many stories everywhere that, and
Yes.
there's only so much airtime that you can only, I mean, obviously stuff gets covered up, but even if even if it's a fair game, which it's not, you can't talk about everything that's going on. So you have to pick and choose. And
Yeah.
th those niche stories, like you were talking about, obviously this story should be national news
Okay. So yes, how is this story
because if
not
it was the
as,
other way around, if it was
of course, well, yeah, that's one. But how is this story different from like Leopold and Loeb? Or how is this story different from the Lindbergh kidnapping? Now, I guess it's different from the Lindbergh baby kidnapping because you had a genuine celebrity whose family was involved. But how about Sacco and Vanzetti? I mean, the 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 idea of a radical Zionist, American Zionist, with Hebrew tattooed on his neck, goes and kills a Christian pastor at the age of 75 in his house. Then he proceeds to put a crown of thorns on the dead body of the pastor and crucifies him, nails him, pins him to the bed where he suffocated him. And that's not a national story. How is that? And it occurred in April. The guy was up for trial. He was indicted in late July.
nobody heard of that.
Nobody heard of that. Nobody heard of that. That is a real story. His again. I'll bring up. Let's get the facts right. Yeah. So what was this? What was his name? I lost the. Oh shit! I lost the link. Adam Shafley, right? Yeah. He's he's the one who perpetrated this crime. And he goes on to say, by the way, of course, he not only aimed to kill that poor pastor, he wanted to kill 12 others
14.
and 14 others because I thought
He planned to kill 14 Christian leaders in 10 different states.
right. And you know who his next victim was? Oh, and he even says in another interview, or was it that one? I can't remember. But he's in another interview that he was about to kill a priest, but there was this old woman that saw him trying to like get into the priest's car. His next victims were to be two priests at a church out in Sedona or somewhere around there.
Yeah. I don't
And what was the purpose? Why the number? I don't remember. Well, he says in one interview, I don't know if again it was a subsequent interview or not, but he says he wanted to make sure that he killed one Christian pastor, especially priests, because he wanted each of them to represent one of the 12 tribes of Israel and Christ. So I suppose the 14 would include St. Paul. Yeah. Unrepentant, not unremorseful, Zionist, radical Jew. Why? Well, of course, we know why the story was suppressed, why we don't hear of it. But is Adam Shafley or whatever his name was, is he just not saying the quiet part out loud? And this is what has gotten Tucker when he does get into trouble, and Candace Owens, and Nick Fuentes to a degree. And then certainly Charlie Kirk was on his way to notice that all of these military engagements, all of these bombing campaigns, do you know, and Dave DeCamp at, is it Graywire or the Libertarian? I forget where it is. But anyway, Dave DeCamp, who works assiduously on all of these foreign affair things, by the way, devout Catholic Dave DeCamp too. He just put out a post. Did you know that Trump has launched 75 bombing campaigns over just one region of Somalia since he's been president? Well, regardless whether it's in Somalia or Yemen or against Iran, if it's allowed to take the Israelis to bomb Lebanon or Syria, it's always, and it's been this way for the past 24 years. In fact, it's been this way really since 1948. In reality, it is always to the extermination, detriment, impoverishment, the eradication of minority Christian communities in these countries. So how long is it going to take? Boomers? How long is it going to take? It's been a lifetime. You were probably born in 48, 50, 52, 56, all boomers. And in your entire lifetime, one secular apartheid pseudo-religious theocratic state has been actively engaged in the process of decivilization of the rest of the world. But they're our greatest friend and ally. Come on. Charlie Kirk was starting to know better.
Remember Ted Cruz? The Ted
Oh,
Cruz segment we did?
yeah. There you go. I love that group, the APAC tracker, and it shows how much money each Congress person has gotten from APAC.
I
You
haven't
want?
seen this.
Yeah, go ahead, take a look. See how much Ted Cruz has gotten. I want to say it's in the 450,000 range.
Trackapac.com.
Yeah, trackapac.com. They have
Oh,
a
it's a Twitter.
oh, okay. They have I want to say that there's a you can just look up Ted Cruz money from APAC too. Anything coming up?
Um, Open secret. I just Googled money.
Yeah.
American Israel publish pop-up ad cruise. Oh, you just search this?
Yeah.
I gotta scroll all the way down to Texas.
The best is when they show Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's just they're the only ones in green and it's zero. The other ones are all in red, including Donald Trump with his $200 million from not just APAC, but other Israeli
200 million?
200 million. Oh, from
Is
for
that
Trump?
no. Is that what
For
you just said?
no, yeah, I said for Trump.
Right.
Yeah.
200?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Mary Madelson gave him like 100 million each election.
Ted Cruz is at 1.8.
1.8 million for a Texas senator. That's amazing. There you go. But we're not owned. We're not owned. And that slut horde Lauren Boebert is the one that uh she's such a two-face because she was on MTG and Massey's side about revealing the Epstein files, but then she was also the one that offered the amendment for the anti-Israeli boycott to the NDA. There you go. Not and if I could from a Catholic perspective also note that it from all indications it appears, and I don't think this is just reaching or wishful thinking on the part of Catholic podcasters or influencers or prominent individuals in the church, but it seems pretty clear that he was edging, if not already moving toward initiation in the church. Uh, and dare I say that given their outlook, given their perspective, theology, the very approach to life, I don't think anything is more dangerous to the status quo and the Zionist American Washington, Tel Aviv, Brussels regime than a faithful Catholic.
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing. Because once you surrender all to Christ and you realize he's your soul king, and that even Charlie would have to couch his advocacy for the American Republic in light of that both temporal and supernatural reality and eternal reality, then he becomes unwieldy to the powers that be.
Hasn't that always been true?
It's always been true. It's always been true. I mean, we could go back to what go back to when Diocletian is attempting to rape Philomena and Lucy, right? The rage, yes, it's a lustful one that these Christian girls, by the way, be made members of this imperial harem. But it's a question of it's the refusal for them to say to Diocletian, look, I know you have power over me. I submit to you. Non serviam. I will not serve. And there's no amount of money, there was no amount of force and coercion that would change their mind, change their volition, their will. And so he devastated them with attack after attack, gouging of eyes, shooting with arrows, drowning. And they're crowned in heaven. I hope Charlie's crowned in heaven. And I think that I hope too that his that he underwent a baptism of desire, or more of a confirmation of desire, because he was validly baptized, but a confirmation in full entrance in the church, a type of white confirmation, if you will. I don't think it's too much to, and I know a lot of people are saying it's kind of corny, these images of Blessed Giorgio Frassati and then Carlo Acutis and then Charlie's in the middle. They shared one thing immensely in common. Well, they shared many things in common, but the thing that stands out is their appeal to young people, and not just in their rhetoric and what that for which they advocated, but more so the way they live their lives in virtue and joy. And it seemed as though he was, from all accounts, at the height of that. He had achieved that at 31 in his family life, in his career. He became a potent voice for the truth and beauty and goodness. And if he was to take that final step of being a true martyr, a living martyr, before becoming an actual deceased martyr, I don't think the Israeli regime and the Zionists could stand that. Hell hath no fury like a Jewish financier scorned. I mean, just imagine the rage. He took their money, he built this immense edifice of conservative slash libertarian, small government, American, patriotic, America first thought. And he's going to become a Catholic on top of it. And then he's going to start to question the narrative. Scorched earth, man. And he used our money to do it in part. And then through the Harrison Smith thing, or actually Candace had noted, and they were close, Charlie, Kirk, and Candace, that Charlie was alarmed at how antagonistic the Netanyahu financiers became when he refused to accept another grant from them in recent days, recent weeks and months. Oh, so you're not going to take our money anymore? And you're going to divert from the path? That's a very dangerous thing in the propaganda war that the Israelis love to wage.
This gets to your original point about what you're losing patience for. I'm losing patience for, and you were more so talking about the official narrative
Yeah.
of
It's just acceptance, the
the
passivity
news.
toward them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm getting really tired of the official, call it the official blue-pilled reaction,
Mm-hmm.
the official moral blue-pilled reaction
Yes.
where people say things like he was killed just for having beliefs that people disagreed with.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We
That's
we need to eliminate that type of thinking, and we need to act like not too far from here, people get shot and killed for getting in the ways of rackets that are a lot smaller than what the
yes.
racket that Charlie Kirk was basically exiting or
Right.
disrupting, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
and
think
it simplifies to a pedantic level his actual message. His message wasn't just free speech and expression, and that the left wants to shut down and cancel it. That wasn't the core. It wasn't just that you get to say whatever you want in freedom of speech, but that he spoke eloquently and in a very persuasive manner, and that's what galled so many, yes, leftists, but also the powers that be, in the end, that the transcendentals are important. The transcendentals are essential to human living. That I can't, in any way, shape, and form, deny what I know is true and continue to live on in a conscientious, and I mean that per our conscience way. I've informed my moral science. My conscience knows what's going on. I've seen people acting in good and constructive ways and virtuous ways. I've seen vice and murder and mayhem, and I do not want to be complicit with the latter at all. That's what he embraced. So he got killed for it. I love too, did you see his wife's mini
No, I haven't
eulogy?
watched that yet.
I saw part of it. I mean, God bless her, and she's a committed Catholic. What was impressed upon me in watching it is that she keeps saying those who did this in the plural. The Charlie's opponents have not yet seen the true effect of his message, right? So I don't think she's under any delusion that there's this lone 22-year-old gunman who's a sort of leftist, though he's from this very wealthy part of Utah and raised by a Republican. I mean, and he goes, what is he? Just to believe the official narrative from Cash Patel or that dunce idiot cuck of a governor from Utah, that he takes a shot, he changes out of his clothes from his old clothes to his new clothes, then disassembles the rifle, though the rifle's never seen, jumps off the roof of the building, then what does he do? He proceeds to go on Discord and say, I did it, essentially, and then go home. By the way, he reassembles the rifle and ditches it in the woods. Again, Charlie, the revelation of the method is slapping you in the face. And I mean the general you, not you, of course, you're awake. But it's slapping you again and again in the face. And it just becomes a point where we're to love our enemies, pray for those who persecute you. Obviously, that's our Christian the dictate, the just heavenly dictate of our Lord. But you're not. He says what? To be wise as serpents, gentle as doves, and wise as serpents. But you can't be wise as a serpent and continue to get bludgeoned by those who want to pull this kabuki theater on you and make it the background and the directive narrative of your life. That's why I really take to heart those individuals who have said, look, you want to find, again, justice and harmony. Don't become victims of this cabal that's pushing you into these directions. The greatest revenge is in the fashion of subsidiarity, a la Leo the 13th and Pius the 10th and Pius the 12th, something that the church certainly has to get back to, and that is live your life, your proximate life, in the most perfect heavenly of ways. Through extraordinary, if you're called to, supererogatory charity. That's the way to defeat all that.
Do you want to talk about a town that loves the official narrative?
Yeah, I do want to talk about this town. Let's see what's buzzing.
Here it is.
Meanwhile in Oak Park.
We should go to your gay suburb now.
The People segment, Meanwhile in Oak Park, brought to you by Trinity Brewing. St. Boniface. Can we talk St. Boniface for a second?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Please.
You never gave me your ranking of the 5 flavors of beer.
Well, I don't know.
You don't have to say it here. You don't have to say it here. I did respond.
You did. I didn't see it. Okay, so Charlie asked me via text, what is the ranking of my 5 best Trinitine beers? And I responded, and I didn't see a response from him, but I responded, well, are those the ones that are currently in circulation and distribution, or are those that we've ever tasted? Because not to make the audience jealous, although it should make you righteously jealous in this case, but Charlie and I have had samples of all the other offerings.
I don't know about
not all of them, but a significant number. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, I've
We have
had
tried some that are not commercially available.
Our Lady of Mount Carmel Brown Ale,
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Empress Red.
I remembered red. I forgot about
What
Mount
about
Carmel.
the Habsburg Vienna Lager?
I remember that one.
Okay, so why did you respond since I didn't see it? Who can I rank them?
I was saying the five. I was saying just do the five that are commercially available, and
Okay,
then I would be curious to hear the full list. But I'm most interested in the five that are
all
out.
right.
But don't
So
don't don't do it right now.
why?
You want to
You
do this
can't.
live?
That's a tease. You can't do that.
Okay, go for
Okay,
it.
so I will say.
I texted mine to Trevor.
Oh, you did? Okay, let's
Yeah.
see how much ours match. This is
Okay.
fun. Even before Meanwhile in Oak Park. It's we've kicked it off. That's fine, but we can do this because
Okay.
they're the official sponsor of Meanwhile in Oak Park. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something controversial.
Yep.
Bonifest is one.
Wow. Okay.
Number two is Quartermaster Jerry. Number three, are you okay?
Just keep going.
Number three is Cristeros. Number four is Second Amendment IPA. Number five is Dias Irae.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Is it just the opposite for you?
Yeah,
Dude, get out.
we're basically flipped.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, I'm a little stunned that
Because I don't like coffee. So the Dias
so that's the
Irae
one.
heavy notes are not gonna. I mean, I do like porters, I do like stouts, but if they have too much coffee taste to them, and Trevor admits there's a heavy dose of coffee taste and roasted barley in that,
Yeah,
it's not gonna appeal to me.
that one's fine. See, I'll give
Okay.
you my list. My list: one, Second Amendment; two, Dias Irae; three, Cristeros; four, Bonifest; five, Quartermaster Jerry.
Wow. Okay, the reason that, well, first of all, I don't like IPAs. Now, I will say that that is the best IPA I've ever had, but it still goes down to four, in part because I was in Milwaukee tailgating before, this was a couple weeks ago, before a Brewers game, and maybe it was because it was hot and we were kind of in the sun, and on a hot day where you're just desiring to have a beer and have your thirst quenched and have it the Second Amendment does not work. I'm sure for a meal or having it in a bar,
No,
it
it
would,
does. It does.
I'm sure it elevates, okay? But I just had that bag. I couldn't finish one.
I think you're wrong on that. I've had it on
Okay.
a boat. It was
Oh,
amazing.
see, well, okay.
And Dias Irae feels like drinking art. You got to get over the whole coffee thing. It seriously feels like I'm drinking like a
Okay,
Christmas
top.
Carol. I feel like I'm drinking a Christmas Carol.
Okay. Okay.
But I think this actually says, I think Trevor's going to hear this and he's going to be more, I think this is actually better promotion for them than if
Okay.
we had had the same list
Sure. Sure.
because it shows that you don't have to, it's really about personal preference.
Mm-hmm. True. All right.
Let's get to Oak Park.
We,
Graffiti
by the way,
art.
we still agree on the Batmans, right? It's 3-2-1.
Have you seen The Batman yet?
No, you keep asking me that. I still haven't seen it. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, we agree.
Okay.
Graffiti art battle along the Ike. For decades, the south wall of the Eisenhower Expressway has been home to a battle between graffiti artists and graffiti removers. Mimi Comerford doesn't remember when the graffiti started appearing on the south wall of the Eisenhower Expressway ditch. For as long as she can recall, big, colorful tags have covered the beige highway wall that runs alongside the Blue Line train through Oak Park and Forest Park. Quote, it's colorful. Some of it is bold and bright. Some of it's not so great, said Comerford,
As in obscene.
who
Yeah.
owns a building on Harrison Street in the Oak Park Arts District that backs up right to the Eisenhower. Sometimes you get profanity. It runs the gamut. Just like all artwork, some is great, some is not, in my own opinion. Wow, what a take.
Yeah.
Graffiti
Oh,
artists
both.
in graffiti artists in the community have been drawn to this wall for decades. Local street artist Teal One, self-described graffiti artist, sarcastic pop artist, and professional troublemaker with a spray can, recalls hitting this wall in the 1990s. Many moons ago, but I can still feel the adrenaline like it was yesterday, he said. Teal One used to own Momentum Art Tech in Oak Park. Now he runs an annual festival, Battle for the City, which celebrates mural and graffiti art in Chicago. Over the decades, graffiti artists have transformed this wall into a billboard without a corporate logo, said Teal One. Every train, every car, every commuter sees it. Quote, graffiti writers are like guerrilla advertisers. We know the value of a prime spot, and that wall is pure gold. The wall in question is under the jurisdiction of and maintenance of the Illinois Department of Transportation. Covering up such graffiti is part of IDOT's routine maintenance to Illinois highways.
Look how beautiful that is. Ugh.
The department does not have an exact date when it began to cover up graffiti along the Ike. IDOT has been addressing graffiti in this area for a couple of decades. IDOT most recently removed graffiti on August 15th, but could not provide specific data on how often graffiti is removed. Castaneda said the department routinely removes graffiti district-wide before major holidays. Castaneda said that it is important to remove graffiti for a, quote, multitude of reasons. Another
Bold statement.
really getting specific here.
There are
Some,
reasons.
Sometimes graffiti covers important road signs, sometimes it is offensive, and sometimes it could contain hidden messages. One of the biggest reasons is simply that it's an eyesore, she said, whether it is on public or private property. I'm sure no one is really wanting to have this graffiti on there.
Uh-oh, tell what's his face of the art co-op.
The south wall of the Eisenhower Expressway seems to be the site of a constant battle between graffiti artists and IDOT. Graffiti often reappears shortly after the department has covered it up, sometimes reappearing the same night. These days, graffiti artists often expect that their work will be covered up. The streets don't offer lifetime warranties. You get your flicks, you move on, said Teal One. But back in the day, it cut deep. Supplies were scarce, paint was expensive, and we didn't have instant cameras in our pockets. You waited days for film to develop, praying the shot was good. If it wasn't, your work was gone forever. That stung. I like that. That's cool. Today's graffiti artists have it easy.
How would you get your own shit to paint on then?
They don't know about Teal One. Teal One's talking about the rough days.
Oh yeah, Teal One.
Today's graffiti artists are walking on.
They're soft.
Yeah, they're standing on the shoulders of Teal One. This wall brings unique challenges for IDOT. The section affected by the graffiti is roughly 20 feet tall and over a mile long, and is also within 25 feet of an active railroad. In order to remove graffiti in this location, IDOT has to coordinate with CSX Railroad to provide railroad flaggers. Cumberford sees this graffiti daily. The graffiti has become such a part of daily life that it fades into the background. It isn't the expressway graffiti itself that bothers Cumberford, she said. Quote, what I mind is when they deface our buildings. The side of Cumberford's building, her dumpster, and her alley door have all been targeted by vandalism. She said she found this incident to be frustrating and wondered, why would you do this? She said she felt the same way when it came to vandalism on public and private property. If it's illegal, she said.
Boy, she's full of them, huh? This girl's like Play-Doh.
Cumberford cliche. Cumberford said she was also frustrated by the use of tax resources to remove the graffiti. Quote, I don't think it's a great use of our tax dollars, she said.
Wow, that's something coming from Oak Park.
So far in 2025, IDOT has spent roughly $1.8 million on graffiti removal district-wide. Cumberford, who is on the board of the Oak Park Arts District and an artist herself, wondered if there could be an alternative to the illegal nature of the graffiti art in the area. Quote, it would be nice if they could create some sort of program for these graffiti artists, she said.
Does she not recognize that that's the program? Program. They got the program. What would be different? Would they deface something and then they have it covered up or thrown away?
Right. Do you think we could, do you think we could make a wall for these graffiti artists to go?
We could put it in public, not somewhere where everybody's going to see it, but, maybe by the L. After a while, we could cover it up, though, and we'll pay for everything.
I guess Teal One agrees. He might have gone corporate. Hold on. We're going to get to him. She and her husband are big proponents of the arts, she said. We support the artists. We want to make sure that artists have an outlet to create. And so I wish that there was a more structured program for these graffiti artists so they didn't feel the need to go around and deface public property, private property. I guess that's why my perspective on it is that's not a sentence. I don't want to shut it down. I just want it to be a little more structured. And I want to hopefully get artists to understand that it's not cool to deface property that isn't set up for that.
It's not cool. Don't do it.
With sculptures lining its most lively streets and new murals often appearing on walls that would otherwise be empty, Oak Park is a village that understands the importance of public art. The illegal aspect of graffiti is what bothers Cumberford, which is why she hopes for a legal alternative. Teal One brought up a similar idea. quote,
His name's totally capitalized.
a decade ago, I told Oak Park and surrounding cities, let us paint it, make it a landmark, even kick in some paint money, said the artist.
Oh, how nice of them. The artist is going to pay for the paint. All they want is the government to be a patron. Come on.
They laughed me off. Now mural
you
culture
suck.
is booming and everyone's acting like it's a new idea. The artist said he would, quote, like to reopen the conversation again so we can have a new wall for art.
That'd be great if he graffitied. I just want to have the conversation in bold graffiti letters.
IDOT has, quote, no current policy for program, quote, oh, sorry, that was the end quote, for incorporating public art into its infrastructure. However, previous installations have included art medallions on the Dan Ryan in 2007 and the International Sculpture Program. Graffiti art is, quote, the only art form born from kids who had nothing but a voice and a wall, said Teal One. No rich patrons, no galleries, just spray paint, hustle, and the need to be seen. It scares people in power because we figured out how to speak without their permission and without playing by their rules. Graffiti is the voice of the streets, and the streets don't ask politely. Quote, it's a complicated issue, said Comerford. I don't condone them doing art illegally, but I do want them to have a place where they can create. That's going to be the only story for today. The next one's boring compared to this. This was a sneaky great story with Teal One.
Good.
That's the people's segment.
There it
Back
is.
in the day, you had to wait days for the film to develop. Just for hopes you had a good
Maybe
shot.
it came for like $1.50. I mean, they're like, you either buy your ho ho and ding dong or you get a spray paint can. I was hungry. I suffered for my art.
Just want to be seen.
Yeah.
Voice of the streets. The streets don't ask politely.
Yeah.
Did we do that? That's the segment? Yeah, I think I did see it.
Maybe.
I think that's the segment.
Meanwhile in Oak Park.
What would have happened if I'd gone for it and just said, no, I'm gay?
Poor Deep Teal. Going home hungry for his art. God bless him.
Teal One.
Or Teal One. What would I say? Deep Teal? Yeah, that's a Teal One. God bless him. All right. Yeah. Well, how do we put a bow on this one, Charlie?
I don't know. Probably just prayer.
Pray and
The end of our episodes always feel like a prayer.
yeah, live like today's the feast day of St. John Chrysostom. Wild that talking about the eloquence and the ability of Charlie Kirk to persuade people. John Chrysostom had 3-hour sermons where people would stand and wait and just and hear that stand, not sitting, stand to hear the eloquence that he spoke about God with, or with which he spoke about God. So, yeah, interesting timing there. The golden mouth of John Chrysostom. God bless everybody. See you next week. Peace.
For example, what are you studying? Can I ask?
Economics.
Okay, so what do you think of Thomas Sowell?
I actually really like him. I bought his book, Basic Economics.
Great.
He's one of the first economists.
Do they teach it here?
Not yet, but also I've only been
Okay,
for like
so now
1
you're proving
year.
my point. If you're studying economics and they're not teaching Thomas Sowell, you're not getting an education, you're getting an indoctrination.
Well,
and you're
no.
being scammed.
Okay.
Milton Friedman, do they teach Milton Friedman here?
No, but I'm aware of him.
Okay, Ludwig von Mises.
I'm aware of him, but no.
Murray
Well,
Rothbard, hold on.
No.
F.A. Hayek.
No.
Frederick Bastiat.
No.
You're not getting economics education, you're getting an indoctrination. You should know every single, it's not your fault, but what you're paying for or going into debt for is not a real economic education. Those are the people that theorized about free markets, which is a legitimate school of thinking, monetarism, private property rights, and the fact that I'm not criticizing you, I'm criticizing the institution that's failing you, that you don't know what these people believe and you're not being taught that rigorously, proves my point that college is a scam.